What compels a war veteran and oyster farmer to take on one of America's longest-serving senators and one of Washington's most powerful insiders? At the heart of his campaign is a simple, almost old-fashioned promise: rebuilding the American dream for working people. He speaks to what millions of people across the country feel every single day: the anxiety of paying for health care, the fear of retirement without security, the exhaustion of working more for less. These aren't abstract policy issues, Platner says. These are everyday battles for survival that Washington's elite no longer understand. When the United Auto Workers endorsed him, they didn't call him a politician. They called him a true ally of the working class. They praised his courage, his hard work, and his belief that the economy should serve the people, not the powerful few who profit from them. The message struck a chord, especially in an America where the gap between the rich and everyone else has never been wider. On foreign policy, Platner brings something rare in modern politics: authenticity. After 4 tours abroad, he returned home disillusioned. Not cynical, but with a clear view of the cost of endless wars and the price veterans pay after the fighting is over. He doesn't speak in talking points or memorized lines. He speaks from memory, the kind that was earned in the dust of the mountains of Iraq and Afghanistan. That experience shapes his worldview. He argues that America should stop pouring trillions of dollars into wars abroad while communities at home are crumbling. For him, national strength begins with strong families, small businesses, and local economies, not with foreign interventions that never seem to end. And that's where his roots matter. From the docks of Sullivan to the cold waves of the Maine coast, Platner built his oyster farm from scratch, carrying gear, fixing boats, and learning how to rebuild life after the service. That work became more than a livelihood. It became a philosophy. He believes that small-town economies, local trade, and sustainable industries are the true engines of American resilience. His campaign rejects the polished politics of entitlement. Real representation doesn't come from wealth or titles. It comes from people who have worked on the docks, worn a uniform, and built something with their hands, Platner says. To his supporters, he's not just another candidate, he's a movement. The working-class rebels take on a system they believe has been hijacked by billionaires, lobbyists, and political insiders who have forgotten who they serve. His message is clear, sharp, and unapologetic. You don't have to be a millionaire or a career politician to fight for the common good. A veteran, a farmer, a neighbor can do it too. But with every new wave of momentum comes resistance. Because in American politics, every outsider who dares to challenge power ultimately faces the same question. Can truth and authenticity really stand up to the machinery of money, media, and influence? For Graham Platner, that test has just begun. First, Graham Platner represents something we rarely see in modern American politics: a new wave of left-wing populism, a movement simmering quietly beneath the noise of the populist right. While figures on the right dominate the headlines with nationalist and anti-establishment rhetoric, Platner's message reverses that energy, channeling it through working-class solidarity and economic justice. His words cut through Washington's rhetoric. He talks about fighting oligarchy, restoring justice, and standing shoulder to shoulder with workers who feel abandoned by both parties. At town halls across Maine, he speaks not from a teleprompter but from the gut, what millions of people silently believe: that the American economy feels rigged and the government feels more like a corporation than a government agency. That passion, raw, emotional, and deeply popular, is what fuels this movement. Second, Platner's campaign is shaking up something even bigger: the foreign policy orthodoxy in Washington. He is not a think tank analyst or a polished diplomat. He is a war veteran who has seen the chaos of war up close and returned home wondering what it all means. In a country weary of 2 decades of military interventions, his perspective strikes a different chord. He speaks of restraint, accountability, and a foreign policy rooted not in ideology, but in experience. And timing is crucial. With global tensions rising, from the battlefields of Ukraine to the disputed waters of the South China Sea, Platner's stance adds a moral and strategic challenge to America's status quo. He asks, why are we spending trillions abroad while our own bridges are collapsing and our veterans are sleeping in the streets? The question resonates far beyond Maine. It resonates in every struggling city, every burdened family, and every disillusioned soldier. Third, Platner's story captures the profound conflict that has defined this century: localism versus globalization. His oyster farm is not just a personal project, it's a political statement. A symbol of community, sustainability, and freedom in an era where multinational corporations dominate everything from our food to our data. To many, his campaign feels like a rebellion, Main Street versus multinational power. It's a fight for the idea that local economies, small businesses, and the dignity of work still matter in a world driven by profit margins and global supply chains. And for Americans who are watching their cities shrink, this fight isn't abstract. It's personal. Finally, Maine itself. A state that quietly mirrors the fractured nature of the entire nation: rural versus urban, old versus young, working class versus elite. This is a state that has swung red and blue, often defying national trends, making it the perfect laboratory for America's political future. If Platner gains traction here, it won't be just another headline. It'll be a signal. A message that traditional party machines are losing their grip and voters are ready to take a chance on the establishment for authenticity. So, as this campaign unfolds, keep your eyes on three things: his fundraising prowess, his infighting within the Democratic primary, and how his conflicts play out under pressure. Because this race isn't just about a Senate seat, it's about something much bigger. It's about whether rebellious, working-class movements can survive the fires of national politics. It's about who gets to define the future, the institutions of the past, or the outsiders who are ready to challenge them. And the outcome of this fight could redefine not only Maine's political landscape, but a blueprint for how power is won and who holds it in 21st century America.